Happy New Year, family. We are in 2025 and we are still black and very much alive. We wanted to come to our community and be in conversation. What's happening, Cliff Albright?
It's the first ever Black Folks Matter podcast. It's the podcast so new it ain't even got a name.
We ain't even got a name.
We ain't got a name for it. But we black and mad.
That's right, black and mad.
But inspired.
But inspired and motivated. How you doing, Miss April Albright?
I'm sober.
Okay.
I'm very sober. It is okay. Being sober don't always feel good.
Yeah.
But I'm sober, but inspired.
Okay.
A little inspired.
Well, we wanted to have this conversation because we are getting these messages at the beginning of the year of like what's going on, like what are we feeling, what we getting in the community, like what we've been doing, and what we plan to do. And so, Cliff, I don't know. I just kind of want to just start with you. What you feeling, brother?
I don't know if you want to start. I don't know if you want to start with me, because like I was saying, everybody want to talk about this election, and like I'm still at a point. 2 months later, I still don't want to talk about it.
Right.
I don't want to be on this podcast talking about it.
Right.
Like that's the way I'm feeling, because I'm still processing. Like most black folks, right? We all process it. We all mad. We disappointed in all of our so-called allies that didn't show up. We disappointed in some of our own community. I'll tell you a story. The day after the election, I was coming home because I was in North Carolina, as y'all know, and going through the airport. And as I was going through the airport, I'm looking around at everybody. And I'm like, I can't trust you. I can't trust you.
Right.
I can't trust you. If you wasn't part of the 92%, I'm looking at you suspect. Right. That I can't. And even if you was a brother, I'm looking at you like, was you part of the 20% or you part of the 80% or where are you at? Right. And so, and 2 months later, a lot of me still feels the same way. And so, people have been like, well, like you said, what's the answers? And I don't have answers right now. I got some answers in terms of the big picture that we can talk about, but, anybody that says that they got the answer to how we approach this new era, they lying to you.
They lying. It's just not right. Well, you are always keep us spiritually grounded over here, April. You over here talking about, I've got a little inspiration. What you feeling, sister?
I will be sustained. My inspiration, like our people, we have sustained. I don't even know where the well that black folks have. Like I look around on this wall and I know the losses felt by each person, historically in this, this on these pictures, right, over history, from incarceration, right, from being beaten, right, and held in jail, from being silenced, right, ostracized, right, by your own people, yet they never aborted or abandoned, the freedom movement. So, that's what keeps me, I guess, and all of us, kind of anchored spiritually, nevertheless, when we experience this. And I know the three of us, we've incurred some really, really hurtful, very open and visualized losses. And so I thought I had, some tough skin.
Right.
But even this felt different.
Because, it felt like a betrayal.
Yeah.
It felt like a betrayal. That the very thing that the people in this country claim that they believe in, they completely push that to the side, right? Any sense of decency, any moral character, none of that, all of that is out. Is out. I remember even for years, I was thinking to myself, for years, I was organizing around getting formerly incarcerated people, former felons, to be able to vote. Yeah. And so there was this whole fight for years of getting someone with, and so now you got the president?
Come on.
That is a convicted felon? Like, so it put in our face, I think, how, we just got to be honest that we're living a lie.
We fighting to ban the box. Like we
fighting ban the box.
Keep people from saying you got to check a box.
That's right.
If you check the box, you might not get this job at McDonald's. So we fighting for that.
This joker's president.
It's 34.
Like 34 and not done. Like we don't even know potentially what other charges, or not now since he did get reelected. But yeah.
So even though even though there's a sense of kind of disappointment that I think really is embodied in him, I do want to say, I love black folks. Mm-hmm. Like, we love black people. Like, at the end of the day, I'm proud of us. Yes. Like, what we have shown is, like, I'm real clear. Mm-hmm. We are the moral, compass in this country. Yeah. We have the temperature in this country, and we can't really, on some level, it seems like this idea of, yes, this sense of betrayal, and really even the whole kind of democracy question. Because do y'all really want democracy for real? Like, because that ain't what it seemed like. Mm-hmm. But I do think, the flip side of this is, I think this is a moment for us to reimagine, though.
It really is. And I think that is our history.
Right.
Our history has been reimagining this country.
Right.
People think that we trying to incorporate it in a burning house. But let's be clear. When they had 1776 on January 20th, January 6th, 2021, the reason why they had that was because they
What you mean? Give some back. What
I mean is when they stormed the Capitol, and you saw flags, and you saw, the year 1776, what they were announcing was that we are fighting for the America that we believe was created when it was originally started.
Right.
But black folk, indigenous people, and other marginalized folks never saw this country the same way.
Right.
Democracy for us was always different. It didn't mean there wasn't any white allies who also imagined democracy inclusive of us. But we have a legacy of fighting and reimagining. So I agree with you that in this season, we've got to lean into that same legacy that we had when we come to times like this. Like, what do we want? Right. Because we don't want, when these folks talk about MAGA and all that, we don't want that.
That's right.
And we need to be very stated about that. And I am proud of us because elections, when we go out and vote collectively the same, what we're saying is,
we're sending a message.
We don't want what you're talking about.
That's right.
Right? It's not an allegiance to a party, right? Or even to a person, right? Because, we would go around and folks
saying we know you.
Right. And and we would be like, and folks would be like, I ain't feeling Biden.
Right.
And quite frankly, a lot of folks would say what?
Right.
They weren't feeling her.
Right.
But the commitment was less about the Democrats, who they also were black folks like, we ain't feeling them. And it was more to this vision of where we want to go.
That's right. So, Cliff, since I know you over there black and mad. Right. There's something that make you fight. Because sometimes folks mad and they paralyzed. And so where are you?
As I look around this room, I think I'm in the same spot that a lot of these folks were at. We got Fannie Lou up here, we got Brother Malcolm, Sister Simone, Brother Kwame Ture, something else, Stokely Carmichael, it's this battle, right? Because we talk about the betrayal, and to a certain extent, some black folks will say, well, there shouldn't be a sense of betrayal, because really, I think you kind of said this, America just showed itself to be what it's always been, right? Like, that betrayal has been, like we talk about 1776, during Revolutionary War, you had black folks, including Phyllis Wheatley, right?
Yes.
People criticize her for being kind of, bourgeois and all that, and being the first black poet, but she wrote letters saying, what's up with this revolutionary stuff, in terms of black folks. And so that betrayal has always been there. So even for folks like us who, we know what America is, but
we know what that America is, because I want to claim, there's a part of, in terms of a new America, that's who we are, a new nation or whatever. And so I think part of the challenge is that they believe that they can solely define a nation that we built. They can solely define a religious practice that we have literally, across the world, that has literally been the framework of liberation, and that they can solely define who is an American, and you ain't American unless you white. The devil is a liar.
Right.
But it's a liar.
Right. But because we believe that we can redefine, which we can, we certainly have the power. We already have redefined to a certain extent. I think sometimes we forget. And that reminders like what just happened, it kind of knocks us back a little bit. And if we're not careful, it could shake us off of that belief that we can redefine and reimagine and recreate and reconstruct this thing called America or whatever. So as we move forward, you know, I just feel like one, we got to be honest about not having all the answers.
That's right.
Two, that we got to be willing to be a little bit vulnerable around that, right? But that three, that we still got to maintain what you said, that we will reimagine this thing, that we will push it forward closer to what it's supposed to be. And in doing so, the kind of things like what we've built, this network of partners, like we were just talking earlier about, you know, a lot of times when we've been down, like even the three of us or our organization,
we done took some hits,
and we've taken some hits, you know. But like I think back to in Georgia after the Senate runoffs in 2021, and you know we were trying to celebrate, but meanwhile the insurrection was taking place, and then Georgia came back with all these voter suppression bills, and we were having a call with our partners, our Georgia partners. But we were like, damn, we don't really want to get on this call because now we just went through all this and now we got to find a way to get them motivated to fight against all this voter suppression that we're seeing. And we get on a Zoom call and they crunk. Like they bowed it. They like, okay, we ready. What's next? So here we were thinking that we were going to have to do all of this to get people ready, and the people were already ready.
That's right.
So as we move forward, I think about that this network, this unit, this movement that we've been building, whatever the answers are, it's going to come out of that. It ain't just going to come from the three of us sitting here or our staff in this office or whatever. It's going to come from this movement and this family that's been built up. That's where the answers going to come from.
That's right.
Amen.
In this moment, what's giving you hope?
Us.
Okay.
And not, you know, y'all are my ride or dies. Let me just say that. I mean, we've been riding and dying for like riding out to the sunset for over 30 years, and we've had some really, really intense moments. That's for another podcast.
And have we lost before?
And we severely, like not even a little bit, like embarrassingly lost, right?
Right.
And hurtful, like losses that made us rethink where we was living.
Oh, absolutely.
And we moved.
Right.
And relocated.
Right.
And went underground.
That's right.
As a result of it. And sometimes that's a part of it.
That's
right.
right.
Over the years, you know, I have learned that, you know, there is no one face to how we, you know, how do we get back into winning?
That's
There's
right.
no one way, no one pathway. You know, I was walking and, you know, and the Holy Spirit just spoke to me and about, you know, I was looking at the trees and about how do you survive in times of winter. And, you know, and in that moment I called you.
Because winter is coming.
And for y'all who know, winter, where am I? Winter is coming.
That's all right.
So
and the North remembers.
Where that dragon at? I need that dragon.
So real talk, like as I was walking and you know, then I was looking at the trees and, you know, and trees every year have to go through winter.
Right.
And then they have to come back. And I called you because it was such a, you know, powerful revelation. And I told Cliff later on, you know, and I asked you, I said, well, sister, what can we learn from trees? And what did you say? I think
I talked about the roots.
That's right. You talked about the root system.
As long as that root system intact, we Gucci.
We Gucci. And you also talked about the shedding.
Right.
Right, shedding the thing that is not important in this time period.
Right. That's right.
So that you can focus on and provide nutrition to things that matter.
Right.
And so as a people, we got to do that.
I agree.
We got to follow that process of, you know, focusing on us.
That's right.
Resting. Right.
Right.
Because we need to rest.
We need
so
to
that we
rest.
can restore.
That's right.
And imagine like
That's
what you
right.
were talking about.
Right.
And we also need to know that our roots are.
Our roots run deep.
Our roots run deep and they're good and they're solid.
And I think we got to give ourselves permission to have a full human experience.
Yeah.
So does that mean like America sells this idea that you're supposed to be happy and jumping up all the time? No, that's not true. They sell that so that you'll keep buying stuff, so you'll stay in that kind of that state, which really ain't real. If you live in a real full life, if you love somebody, you're gonna experience grief.
Yes.
If you are attached to folks, you're gonna experience disappointment. If there's something that you want, if you're a champion, you done got your butt kicked.
Yes.
Numerous times.
Yes.
If you are a champion, you done got the wind knocked out of you. If you're a champion, right? So I'm saying that because even in this moment, our fate has never been tied into what is the fate of a particular party or even a candidate. I think part of the reason why it's so hurtful, I'll say for myself, been so hurtful to me is because it felt like the unraveling of an idea, of a notion, that an idea that I had hoped that finally we had gotten to this place, and maybe we are there, right, where there's this critical mass of people who really center our humanity, that have some sense of wanting righteousness, that have some sense of loving each other. You ain't got to be to agree. You might not even live together, but on some level, like acknowledge each other's humanity and want to share. So I think what it felt like to me is the unraveling of that. Yeah. Like y'all gonna like we're gonna reward meanness and selfishness and that kind of piece, but the flip side too of this for me is I also think this is a moment for us to get real. I really do believe that this is a season for us to reimagine. And I also, and Cliff, I also think that we have to reframe what really constitutes a win. Because I think part of the way that we see win has also limited us in our thinking. And so I'm just for you, like, what is a win to you? What is a win for Black folks to you?
I think for me, I view anything, well, first of all, I view it on different levels, right? Because there's it's not the only level, but there is like the concrete. Did you get that thing that you were fighting for? But for me, the process means just as much sometimes as the actual outcome. Right. And so one of the questions I always ask is, at the end of this, regardless what the concrete outcome was, have we gotten stronger?
Right.
As a people,
right.
As a movement, as an organization, have we gotten stronger? Have we strengthened our ties? Did we meet some folks? April sometimes asks about the bus tours, and she's like, "Well, why are you going out on this bus tour, right?"
And Cliff will jump on the bus.
I'm gonna jump on the bus, right? I'm gonna shout out the window and do all that right. And throw some shirts. And and part of it is to to really be connected to like how we as an organization are doing the work. But a lot of it is because y'all both know this, we meet so many incredible people when we're out on that bus. Yeah. All of our partners, organizers, new partners. We always learning about somebody new. Every time we get on that bus, we learn about a new organization, a new business, a new activist, or whatever. And so, for me, it's like, have we strengthened that? Did we multiply
That's right.
that? If we've done that, then ultimately I know whatever the specific concrete short-term objective was, regardless of whether or not we got it, if we strengthen those ties, if we built that capacity and those relationships, I say it all the time, relationships are infrastructure.
Right.
If we have built that, then ultimately we got to get to where we need to get to. But we can get a short-term win if we haven't strengthened those relationships, or in some cases, you can get a win, like you could win an election or a campaign, but you can burn some bridges.
Right.
And if you've done that, that ultimately is going to be more harmful than the fact that you got the short-term win. Yeah. So that's what I look at when I think about, did we get a win?
So did we get a win last year?
I think we did, because I think we learned some stuff. I know that we met some folks and that we strengthened our relationships. We did deeper work than we've ever, as an organization. Right. We've done deeper work than really we had ever done in previous elections, even elections where we got the so-called electoral win, and so we built up some skills ourselves and some skills amongst our partners that we had never done. And so when I look at those things, and it's hard to say, and it's not being Pollyanna, it's not just, trying to do the whole silver lining thing, because to be clear, it hurts.
Right.
Right. Like, we still processing, and there's going to be a lot of bad. We're going to come through it.
Right.
But there's going to be some hurt.
Right.
That's going to happen over these next 4 years.
Right.
Starting already. So I'm not trying to sugarcoat that. But when I look at some of the things that we were able to do and some of the relationships that we were able to build that I know are going to have long-term benefits, that's part of what lets me say, okay, we're going to get through it. And we're going to get through it because of the way that we have done the work, not just last year, but every year that we've been in this movement. Right.
And then, April, I'm just, this is one of the pieces that's been real disappointing to me. Has been, I can't watch none of the Christian stations right now. They driving me crazy. I just can't. I'm just like, Jesus, come get your people, Jesus. And it's interesting, particularly in the South, how faith has been weaponized and used in such a way where I'm hearing people operate as if that there's something that like there's something, or it like takes the profane and makes it righteous. And so I know that's a big part of the body of your work around at this intersection of faith and politics. And so I'm just where are you right now in terms of thinking around it?
Well, raw speaking, I think our people have always understood that there is a living God and there's a constructed God. I believe that, we, understood that there is a God who ordains life, right? And in that is inherent liberation. But we quickly understood, on these plantations that the God that y'all talking about,
we ain't talking about that one,
that allows you to go to a quote unquote holy house and leave that holy house
and go do
and celebrate the lynching.
Yeah, something ain't right.
Of someone. Something ain't right. And that something ain't right still exists amongst us collectively. So even though we go to a church and we all say Jesus, I think to this day, which is why
many of us say Jesus.
Many of us say Jesus, not all of us, but many of us say Jesus. Even in that context, we understand that we're having a different experience and we're celebrating.
Having a different conversation.
Right. A different God. And we just got to be honest and real about that.
Right.
And be okay with that. And in these upcoming days, we are going to have to lean into that like never before. Because there's going to be a lot of folk, right? And I'm even talking about even some other belief systems who may use religion for their political gain. Right. Christianity don't just have, a monopoly on that. All faiths, all religions have a moment where they can depart, right, from teaching us how to love God with all of our hearts and our minds and our soul and our stuff, and then loving each other as ourselves. They all can depart from that. So I think in this season, we gonna need some prophets who are going, of all faiths, who are going to go back to the roots of what spirituality is supposed to do for us and how it's supposed to connect us to this creation so that we will honor it and grow it and protect it and then do the same thing for each other.
Are you afraid in this moment?
Am I
afraid? Are you
afraid?
feeling fear in this moment?
What I feel like, and I'll just be real, I feel like there's going to be an amazing revival.
I feel
it's so
like
crazy, it's crazy, but I feel like there's a revival on the horizon. And it's not just a Christian revival. I believe that people will maintain their religious practices of whatever it may be, but there's going to be a heightened awareness of our connection to each other and to God and to this earth. And what came to me one day was there are truly oases in this world. They do exist. Like there are places right now in deserts where there is little life that is growing around those places. And they have a purpose too. But in the middle of those places are these places that are full of water, where the ground can grow nutrients, where folks can be sustained even in the midst of heat and little
kind of climate.
And all kind of climate. But it's a very sophisticated system that people have to create in order for that to happen. So I have faith. So while my flesh, as I'm sure each person in this room felt, fear is a real thing, and it's purposeful, right? There's, we are taught in all religions to fear not. That's because we will be afraid. So there is that presence, but there's also this awareness that we can get through this. And not only can we get through this, but we can create an oasis.
I agree with all of that. As you were talking, it's funny because you used the oasis metaphor. And part of what came to my mind is because you have an oasis and then sometimes you have a mirage, right?
Yes.
This thing that doesn't really exist.
Yes.
And, as you were talking, and periodically what I reflect on is, I know that we're going to get to where we get to. Yeah. I know that the challenges we're facing right now are a little bit different than some of the ones we faced in the past, because what's a mirage and what's truth and factual, the lines have been blurred now more than at any other period of time, right? And so it's hard, doing movement is hard enough, right? But when you don't have like a common set of facts, like there was a common set of facts of what happened in Selma on Bloody Sunday, right? Like you could see it. They interrupted the national broadcast. Everybody saw it was what it was. If that were to happen today,
people would still have
people like it didn't happen, and that's a challenge. And I'm not saying it's a challenge that can't be overcome, but it does create, as organizers, a different kind of challenge of how do we cut through the noise and the mirages so that our people
can
see clearly where the oasis is and where it's not.
When you think about power right now, what do you think the biggest barrier for Black folks accessing power right now?
Man,
and let's just take this year.
Yeah.
This year.
Well, I mean, the things at the top of my list, and I've said this 2 years ago. We've been saying it nonstop. Independent politics requires independent money.
Period.
And the things that we saw Georgia do in 2020 and in other places, the things that we as an organization were able to do was made possible because there was a certain level of funding, resources, the aftermath of George Floyd, corporations trying to donate away their guilt, whatever. There were more resources that made it possible to do certain things. Those resources were not available this election cycle, and they're decreasing for a variety of reasons.
Why do you think so? What theory you have around?
I mean, it's a bunch of reasons. It's a perfect storm of the attacks on DEI, and we're seeing every day we're hearing about a new corporation that's giving up on DEI and all that stuff. Well, shout out to Costco.
And who else?
And Apple.
And Apple.
And who else? And to Black businesses, right?
Yes.
We got our Black water, right? But we got Black businesses. And so we got people that are still committed, but the question is, why has the funding dried up? The tax on DEI, just the overall decrease in giving to community groups, which again is no longer 2020. There aren't people protesting in the streets, and people just aren't donating the way that they did in 20. I often teach in my classes when I teach this period of affirmative action. People think about affirmative action as being like this ultra liberal policy, right? And it really wasn't. A lot of the early energy around affirmative action didn't come from the Johnson administration. It actually came from the Nixon administration. That's right. And the reason it came from the Nixon administration, because what was happening? Black folks was mad, right? Black and mad, right? Cities were burning. And they got the idea people don't burn stuff that they own a part of. And so you started to see all these little affirmative action policies, not just in education, but like a lot of the stuff around like Black businesses and all that stuff actually came out of the Nixon administration. So you're saying
there's a benefit of being Black and mad.
There's a benefit of being Black and mad.
I'm with that.
Oh yeah. And that's the thing. Like people don't like to admit it, right?
I'm with you.
But sometimes being Black and mad,
it will get you some stuff.
It's a squeaky wheel, right? And so. But the money thing, I think, is the biggest.
It's the biggest piece.
It's the biggest piece. There's other things in terms of like information and communications and all that. Things like this, podcasts are going to be increasingly important as we move forward. But other aspects of communication, but the financial is absolutely critical.
Well, we know that, folks. Yeah. So listen, we want to come and talk to y'all and be in conversation. How many of y'all ain't looking at cable news right now?
Me.
Like, how many of y'all are literally tired of this conversation around politics?
Yeah.
Like, we're like that ultimately, I know we only have a few minutes left on it, but I really want us to just kind of share around reminding folks that, as Black Voters Matter and people think we are not a voting organization, right? Our goal was never reduced to Black folks' power being voting. But what we do know is that when Black folks collectively move towards a vision together, when we collectively push, when folks come at our house and we come back at them, when people are putting stuff in place that impacts us and we move on it, that's a form of self-determination.
It is.
But we also know that's not enough now, right? And so I don't know if we got the answers. Do we, Cliff?
We don't have
April,
the answers.
I don't know if we have the answers
don't.
right now. But I'm wondering, like, as we have these other minutes, what we want people to know or to do in this moment. So somebody is listening to this right now, like they don't even know why they still listening because they really don't want to talk about no voting, right? But something has them still tuned in. You know, what's on your spirit to share with them?
What is on yours? Like, what would you share?
You know, I believe, you know, okay, I'm one of them folks that I believe in divine intervention, as you know, April. But I do think that there's something, the fact that Dr. King's actual birthday, so this was a movement that was based on beloved, building the beloved community, happens to be the same exact day that the man who has literally built his career on hate.
Yes.
Right. America is being faced a choice. I'm so clear. Like America is being faced this choice around, are we going to move forward in the spirit of hate or love? There is an attempt, I am so clear, to wipe us out and to marginalize us.
Yeah.
There's a reason why we loud. There's a reason why we are not just loud, I'm not just saying vocally, right? But this is the moment, y'all. In my opinion, this is the moment for us to go into our bag. I really do. Like for us to be creative.
Yeah.
I think this is the moment for us to step back.
Without getting into all the whatever about the elections, though, but as Black women, right? Because what you were just talking about is it's universal, right? But it's something. It's a weight that Black women have carried in a different kind of a way. And so as you were talking, that struck me. I just wanted to hear if y'all want y'all's reflections of like what this moment means, particularly coming from the space and the experiences of Black women.
I promise you, I would thank you, brother, for that. That's why we love you. You know, this is the longest grief period that I've been in where it's been just back-to-back hits. And so I think what I'm feeling is I'm grieving something, but I'm grieving something that I needed to let go.
Yeah.
And so I needed to let go this idea that we can fix this America to be this image that I wanted to. As much as I didn't want to acknowledge that I had this belief, I had this belief that through moral righteousness and through leadership and through sacrifice, somehow we would be able to capture the minds and the hearts of the majority of people in this country and do that. And what I've settled on is that is going to happen, but it won't be based on this. And so I think there's a part of me, and even in the idea of letting that go, I think there's a part of me that has grieved this idea of believing self-sacrifice to the point that I was supposed to have a major surgery 2 years ago. Every time it was about to be time, you know, is an election coming up, or we got to do this. And I know, and I'm saying this for me, but I know there's other sisters out there that have been delaying things in your life because you're trying to make
hold up
good
for everybody.
and hold up in this moment.
Yeah.
And so the third and the final thing that I'll say is, you know, what I learned in this process too is that when things die, they fertilize the soil. And so we're being fertilized right now.
Yeah.
Right? That there are some things that needed to die. Right? The way that we're looking at American politics is some bullshit.
Right.
It is, right? The bottom line, like seeing ourselves limited, like if the Supreme Court is not going to give us justice, then we got to do what we got to do to shift it, eliminate it, do whatever we got to do. We got to be like unyielding around that. Just like these folks have been unyielding around saying that they're going to create systems that deny our own humanity, we got to be just as ferocious in saying the opposite or what it is that we want.
Yeah.
And I think in that last piece, I don't think we're dreaming enough. Like, I feel like we need to be dreaming enough. I think we still seeing our response in the context of what somebody else created. We locked in. That's the matrix part to me. It's like we locked in to somebody else's reality. No, white folks, racism is not my birthright.
It's not.
Right? It's not. It is not my inheritance. I'm not going to continue to go forward with that. We will shut this down.
Yeah.
Whatever that means. You want to shut down, let's go. Right? But at the end of the day, I think there has to be a different kind of, instead of us constantly being in the space of responding, Cliff, I don't want to constantly be in the space of responding. I want to generate and create. And I'm a nation builder. I don't want to continue to be a citizen of some old bootleg ass idea of a country that says white folks are more than everybody else. Forget that. I want to be a nation builder of folks who got the vision, the insight, the moral curiosity, the courage to actually create. I believe that God created white people and black folks and Asian folks and indigenous people, and like, that's what I believe. I believe that ain't nobody got no lease on no land because you ain't created, right? I believe that we can actually live in an abundant world.
You can.
And we can literally live a life that all of us, it'll be at different levels. We ain't all gonna be the same. That's okay. But everybody basic needs, we got enough of that to be met.
We sure do.
And so for me, I guess my space, I don't know how we get there. Because up until this point, my belief in getting there is to prevent those who are keeping us from getting there. And that's one part of the work. But the other part of the work that I feel, this is me, that I've not spent enough time on is imagining what that looks like. Like what it is that I want.
Amen. I mean,
Amen.
yeah.
That's it.
You know, we guess that's our legacy. I think that's the legacy that we have to cleave to in this moment. You know, is that we are genius. You know, that we have been the architects of civilizations in antiquity. That many of the things that we experience and live were created by our ancestors. Even though somebody else tried to put their name on it, it doesn't, we know the truth. And so this is a moment of us telling the truth,
Right.
going back, Sankofa, remembering, and bringing it forth, and then us creating what's next.
And being reflective. And rest is okay.
And rest is okay, because that's what I'm going to just be 100.
Revolutionary.
Come on.
I'm going to be 100. I'm tired.
Come on.
Yeah.
You know, and as an organization, the reason why we do shut down, you know, that's a principle.
Right.
Rest is a principle that we've all had because we know what it feels like to not have it.
That's right.
You know, we know what it feels like to not have access to health care because we went through time periods when we didn't have it.
The majority of my adult
Exactly. You know, and so, you know, trying to fight for a wage and livelihood that can let you not just pay your bills, that's baseline.
That's baseline.
Right. But to be able to build something
Cities.
new, to travel, to see the
travel.
world.
That's right.
Like we don't know the specifics of what we are imagining quite.
Right.
But it's coming into frame.
It's right.
And rest will give us an
clarity.
opportunity
I agree
to
with
get
that.
the clarity to have those collective discussions, even outside of the three of us. Right. A broader community. And I think we want to bring in some more folk to talk about this, right?
That's
right.
Because this isn't just this is our conversation, right, that we're having in this moment, but it is a part of a larger conversation that needs to happen not only within our organization, but also in our neighborhoods, in our churches, you know, in our businesses, on the basketball court, you know, in our educational halls, because while they're imagining and they're looking back.
They looking back.
They're looking back.
Right.
We have always looked forward.
So in this moment, last minute, this moment, what do you really believe people should be doing in this moment? And not in the headspace. Like, what do you, in your heart of hearts, in this moment, what do you think we should be doing? Our people, as they're thinking, they're looking at this, they trying to figure. I don't know what's this. I don't know what to do.
Rest is on top of mind.
Okay.
Right. Rest will look different for everybody. Rest, and we need to be having conversations with each other.
Okay. Gotcha.
Right.
Cliff, what you think in this moment?
Yeah, I think I agree with April. Rest
Stokely like.
Stokely said,
I get the word.
Stokely like, if y'all don't
organize.
If y'all don't start organizing.
Stokely said, Stokely like, well.
Stokely is not, and and it's so amazing that Stokely, that Brother Kwame's picture would fall when we said rest.
Right. Rest, reflection. Right.
That's good.
I think this is a good time for us to reflect. And we can reflect on, and this is going to be challenging, maybe a little controversial, right? We can reflect. You got a lot of people who are already like rethinking coalition, like even with all the stuff that you mentioned about, America should be for black folks and brown folks and indigenous folks. But you got a lot of black folks who are rethinking like our coalitions. And I think that's okay, right? It doesn't mean that we got to step away from or abandon or just get caught up in the scarcity model and all that. But I do think it's okay for us to take a look and to assess what is the nature of coalition? On what basis are we coming together, right? Is it around short-term objectives? Is it around long-term principles and values? Like that's a healthy reassessment. It's not to say that we're just going to look inward, but I do think, like April said, we need to have some conversations amongst ourselves, and it's already happening. That's right. People are already like, I'm minding my black business, right? I'm invested in everybody black, everybody whatever, but that's okay. But I do think, and when we open up this conversation, to have some of our other team come on. So I don't want to steal his lead, but like connecting with our humanity, even in reflecting on self, we can still maintain our humanity, right?
Absolutely.
And so, but I think that's where we have to be right now. I think also just in terms of like bare bone politics, I think we have to do another reassessment. We've always done it, right, but like looking at local and state.
Yes.
And not turning our backs on federal, but just acknowledging that some of our tools at the federal level are just lacking. Right. But that there's a lot more that we might be able to do at the local and state level. And so that's going to be a part of the conversation as well. Right.
And I firmly believe that. Like I say all the time, I don't think our politics are going to save us. It's going to be our humanity. Mm-hmm. I believe that our biggest fight right now, I don't think our biggest fight is our politics right now. I really don't. I think it's how we see each other. I think we are literally being programmed to see each other as enemies, that we are in this space of this fake idea of scarcity, right, so that the oligarchs
can have it all.
Right. Yeah. Right. And so while we fight each other, because it's interesting, even on the there's a conversation, and one of my friends called me around white women, really upset with white women. The truth of the matter is 48% of white women were with us. I'm just saying. Yeah. And so there are 80% of Jewish voters with us. And so I think that there is a natural space, but everybody's trying to figure it out. So as we wrap up, we want to tell our folks, all of our Black Voters Matter family, we are here. We ain't going nowhere. Black Voters Matter, we fight back. Yeah. We coming for you.